trial because you'll still have an ongoing case, but some of the other issues can be worked out. A case can always be remediated. You can make substantial progress. Maybe there's more information that needs to be discovered, or the parties need to think about something. You can come back to mediation, try it again. I know we've done that before.
Yeah, absolutely, and you made a great point. 70–80% might settle at mediation,
right.
but you have on almost every case, you have closed the gap of issues.
Right.
And even though at the end of the day, usually it's about money, except this family court, it's an auto case or a workers' comp. But where there might be workers' comp, there might be some medical involved, future medical
right.
care. But you've usually hashed out a lot of the issues and narrowed it down, so weeks later you get it resolved, you know, where you might not ever.
Well, before you go on, Jay, tell you what, we're going to take a quick little break. We'll come
Okay.
back to you. We'll finish your thought. When we get back from this, taking more of your phone calls. Thanks, Michael, for calling. Appreciate that. 848-8080 is our phone number here as we're taking more of your calls. Mediation, our topic here today on Legal Access. Thanks for hanging through the break there. We are Legal Access talking about mediation today. Still got time to get your phone calls on the air if you have any questions about the process. The phone number is 848-8080, 848-8080, along with Sherman Lee Kreiner, also Jay Boltz and Ian McGuire. I'm Dave Priest. Michael was the last call that we had, and Jay, before we went to break, you wanted to add something to his question about if you know, about going to court if
you don't resolve it.
Right,
yes.
Exactly.
And I just want to reiterate what Sherman said. Trained and experienced mediators have lots of tools in their toolbox. If you're butting heads, you can step back and try some other solution, like bring in another professional or bring in, you know, ask the parties to adjourn to investigate or get more information and then come back together. And also to follow up what Ian said, is that sometimes, you know, you can't get the parties completely together, but you bring them this close together, and then later on, the attorneys themselves, after the mediation, if they're this close together, can finally close the deal. And so many of those cases settle after they've been to mediation. But the bottom line is, for Michael's question, if you don't resolve your case in mediation, you get a report from the mediator saying the parties are at an impasse, and that's your ticket to go to court. Yes, you can still go to court and have your day in court and have your trial.
And one of the best things about mediation, bar none, is the fact that both sides get a preview of what's going to happen in court, and especially for the lawyers sort of have been through it in one way or another, similarities in cases, but for a lot of times this is the one case that the client will ever have, and all of a sudden they hear the other side's story and their evidence, and all of a sudden they start saying, wow, if I was on a jury and heard that, and it's not such a clear-cut, I'm 100% right. There is some negotiation because there's some risk to going to trial that the party may not see until they have the mediator there and hear both sides of it. So it's such a helpful process. It really is, even when the cases don't settle.
Part of the mediator's role is to bring that out, you know, so the parties fully understand all of the issues and both sides of the issues.
And attorneys sometimes can miss something, and then they hear the other side and they go, okay, wow, I never really thought that through. So it's helpful for everybody.
Let's go to the phones here right now. We've got David in Myrtle Beach with us hanging on. Hi, David. Thanks for holding on. What's your question for us today?
I wanted to find out what the requirements are to be a mediator. Do you have to be an attorney or retired judge, or can anyone tout themselves as being a mediator?
Interesting.
Well, I will speak as to being a family court mediator. You cover circuit court or civil court or federal court. You and I are all of those things. In family court, to be a mediator, you either are a licensed attorney, which would also include judges, and then you have to go through a 40-hour training, which is a week-long training program and a couple other things, and then you get certified as a mediator in family court. And so you go through the family court certification training. Otherwise, you would be a licensed mental health practitioner in family court, and then you'd have to have the 40-hour training as well, and then meet certain other requirements in addition to the training and being a licensed mental health practitioner. That's it in a nutshell. Now, actually, anybody can claim that they are a mediator and serve as a mediator, because there is no prohibition against that, like there is, you know, non-attorneys can't practice law. There's laws against that, but mediators, in order to get certified, that's the process. But anybody can hang up a shingle, but I can assure you most parties are probably going to want to get someone who's trained, certified, and experienced.
Yeah, and about the lawyer part of it, you don't have to be a lawyer. In fact, if you ever saw Wedding Crashers, that's what they were. Remember, they were mediators. Vince
Oh,
Vaughn.
yeah.
And I think in California, a lot of
That's
bigger...
the first Wedding Crashers reference we've had on the show, by the way.
Yeah, I also said that those guys are mediators. But in a lot of other states, the bigger states, there seem to be a lot of non-lawyer mediators that are specialized in that. In our world, it seems like almost every case and everyone we're involved in, the mediators are lawyers for whatever.
It does seem to be that way in this part of the country,
Yeah.
yes.
Now, Sherman, and thanks for the call, David. We appreciate that, and good luck on your career and move to try to be a mediator. Before we get going here, we got a couple minutes left. I know you do personal injury, and you also do workers' comp cases. If you're sitting there and I have a case against an insurance company, and so that's kind of what the two sides are. You're sitting there as a mediator. You know, through your experience, that the insurance company, even though they might be offering here, that they're going to be willing to go up to here. Do you try to cut to the chase and say, hey, listen, instead of just going back and forth, we know that you're going to go here?
That's a good question, and I have a lot of mediators that are going through the training process, which is part of it. They've got to observe mediations, and that's like the fundamental question they always ask is, why don't you just cut to the chase? There have been a few times in my practice as a mediator, and I do hundreds a year, and I've been doing them for over 15 years, is somebody will want that to occur. Like one of the attorneys is like, can we speed this up or whatever?
Yeah.
It always backfires. I believe in the process, I know Jay does as well, is that you just basically got to take what you're being given by the sides and go back and forth. Also, there are assumptions that you can make, and you can often be wrong with those assumptions. Like you're saying, I know they'll pay here, so I know they'll pay there.
Yeah.
That's not always the case. Also, I kind of joke too, is that everybody lies to me at a mediation. If I believed everything everybody told me, I would walk in, I'd be done in 5 minutes. I hear all the time, I'm not going to take less than X.
Right.
Well, they end up taking less than X. I hear insurance companies, I'm not going to pay more than Y. So.
We got to run, but I
Always
appreciate it. It's been a very interesting show here today. Appreciate the phone calls. Next week when we get together, we're going to be talking about, what do we got next week? Personal injury law. That's what you said it was going to be. I should have trusted you on that. Personal injury next week. That's going to be our topic, so get your questions together for that. Want to thank our guest here today, Jay Bolts, also Ian McGuire, of course, and Sherman Lee Kreiner. Appreciate you coming down from Wilmington today to join us here. I'm Dave Priest. We'll see you again next Thursday for another edition of Legal Access.
Thank you.
Furnishings for legal access provided by 501 Furniture. For further information, please contact the McGuire Law Firm at 843-361-7549.